you want to win the popularity contest with the world, don't bother following Jesus. The world mocked Jesus' values, and it will mock Jesus' values. Now this demand answers the question of pride as well. Who is going to rule and reign over your life? Jesus or you? If you're going to put Jesus first in your life, in control, you have to put yourself on the cross. If you're going to put him on the throne, your selfish pride has to go on the cross. Someone has said when Christ is on the cross, self is on the throne. But when self is on the cross, Christ is on the throne. Jesus conveyed in no certain terms that the cost of discipleship when he said, you must take up your cross and follow me. Why was Jesus so harsh? This loving Jesus, why was he so harsh? Saying you've got to pick up a cross and follow me. Doesn't sound very loving to me. Because he knew what was ahead of his disciples. He knew exactly what was going to lie ahead of those who would follow him. Did you know what lay ahead of his disciples? Here's some of the things. Andrew died on the cross. Simon was crucified. Bartholomew was flayed alive. James, the son of Zebedee, was beheaded. James, the other James, the son of Alphaeus, was beaten to death. Thomas was run through with a lance. Matthew was stoned and then beheaded. Matthew was slain with a sword. Peter was crucified upside down. Thaddeus was shot to death with arrows. Philip was hanged. John was placed in exile in a small island in the middle of the Mediterranean, the Isle of Patmos. The reason why the Lord makes this demand is because he wants us to know right up front that there may be a price that he calls on us to pay. And we need to say, Lord, I will pay whatever you call on me to pay. Christianity is not a Sunday go-to-meeting religion. Yes, we are from the church. That is part of our commitment. But if you should choose to follow, there is no part of your life that will be immune from his call. None. Moses gave up Pharaoh's court. Matthew gave up a lucrative profession of a tax collector to follow Jesus. He was not immune. Paul gave up the prestigious position of being a Pharisee. Peter gave up his family and his fishing business. There is no part of your life that will not be immune if you follow Jesus. None. How often today do we worry about the price of something when we ought to consider the cost? Because there's a big difference between price and cost. Even though the price of a $100,000 lease Mercedes is the same for both me and Bill Gates, I assure you the cost is far greater for me than it is for Bill Gates. That's the point Jesus makes in his first of many parables when he says in verse 28, for which of you, as tending on building a tower, does not sit down and count the cost, whether you have enough to finish it? You see, the Christian life is like a tower. It is to be a tower of work, a tower of worship, a tower of witness, a tower of warfare. But there is a tremendous cost in building that tower. You know why so many so-called Christians drop out of church? Do you know why there are so many that were called Christians that fell off their walk with Jesus? Many did no longer walk with him. Some disappeared. It was because they were not willing to pay the price. They didn't count the cost. Jesus then goes on to another parable. He says, what king going to make war against another king doesn't sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who against him has 20,000? Christianity is not for the faint in heart. You had better be ready for a spiritual battle with the world, the flesh, and the devil. So you must ask yourself, what price will I pay to follow Jesus? Finally, what passion will I present in following Jesus? In verse 33. So likewise, whoever of you does not forsake all that he has cannot be my disciple. Perval sums up exactly what Jesus expects. Now notice he does not say we're to give away everything. Although he did ask the rich young ruler to give away everything. But he doesn't ask all of us to give everything away. Jesus says we are to give up everything. We're to give it up. Means that we're to relinquish control of it. Friends, family, and money. Relinquish control. You've got to be willing to sign the title deed of everything you have and everything you are over to Jesus, even if it means giving up. Giving up, perhaps, certain things. Maybe your children to the mission field. Even if it means leaving home to go to another place of service. Even if it means answering his call on your life and giving up a lucrative salary in order to do what you believe he wants you to do. Now, having said this, don't get the idea that sacrifice has to be negative. Sacrifice is positive. A soccer team that sacrifices on the practice field and in the weight room wears the championship ring often. The athlete who sacrifices on the practice field, on the track, wins the gold medal. But in order to win the gold medal, the championship ring, a price has to be paid. A passion to have the proper priorities. That translates into a passion for other people, that other people can see, that will make them want to play on the team. What is your passion for the gospel, friends? What is your passion for his church? What is your passion for his ministry? What is the passion you have for those who are lost? What is your passion? Do people see your passion for Jesus? How much you love him? How much you want to follow him? That's why Jesus finishes up. He says, salt is good. But if salt has lost its flavors, loses its seasoning, is fit for nothing but the manure pile. Jesus doesn't mince words. Now, why does Jesus end up with salt? Why did he end up there? Because salt was a very valuable item in the days of Jesus. As a matter of fact, part of the soldier's salary was salt. The word salt and salary are very closely related. And that is why we are said, he is not worth his salt. You ever heard of that? Salt has very many wonderful qualities. It purifies, it preserves, it penetrates. As salt, we are to give those who do not know Jesus a taste of Jesus through our lives. Just as salt makes you thirsty for water, we as Christians should make other people salty for Jesus. They should be thirsty to find the answers in Jesus. By the way we love, the way we forgive, by the way we care. If we do that, I must confess, we fall so short. But it doesn't mean we must give up. We must seek to work at it so that our salt becomes more effective. The world is not going to be attracted to Jesus by half-hearted followers. The world will never be willing to do business for God until they see followers that mean business. I wish we had the passion of this Zimbabwean pastor who penned these words shortly before he was martyred for the gospel. I write to read them. My face is set. My gait is fast. My goal is heaven. My road is narrow. My way is rough. My champions are few. My guide is reliable. My mission is clear. I cannot be mocked, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the of adversity, negotiate at the table of my enemy, ponder at the pool of popularity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I won't give up. I won't shut up. I won't let up. Or slow up until I have preached up, prayed up, paid up, stored up, and stayed up for Jesus. This man, shortly later, paid with his life for the gospel. David Livingstone, one of the greatest missionaries the world has ever known, labored many years in the deep, dark jungles of South Africa. Because of his sacrifice, today there are over 300 million Christians in Africa. One time, Livingstone received a letter from a certain society that said, "Have you found a good road to where you are? If so, we want to know so we can send other men to join you." David wrote back, "If you have men who are willing to come only if they know the road is good, I don't want them. I want men who are willing to come if they know there's no road at all." There's only one kind of disciple that Jesus desires, and he demands, is one who gives himself unreservedly to him. What is there that keeps you from following Jesus? A boyfriend? A girlfriend? A job? A family? Money? Pride? Listen to the words in closing of James Elliott, missionary martyr, who said this: "He is no fool who gives up what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." Those who have ears to hear, let them hear, Jesus said. We come now to the table of the Lord. I'm going to ask the team to come more forward. We're going to sing a hymn as we prepare for the table. It said, "I surrender all." This we sing so often, but we need to sing it within the context of what Jesus is calling us to do. Take up a cross and follow him. If you do not know this Jesus, if you are playing at religion, he wants you. He wants you to follow him unreservedly. Come as we sing and we'll pray with you. And if you're a Christian, perhaps you need prayer. Maybe there's something that has been holding you back from being totally committed to your relationship with him. Or maybe you just need prayer this morning. As we sing, please come forward and we'll pray with you. Following the song, I'll ask those who are serving to come forward.